YouTube, Big G back again, and it's Saturday morning and I've been browsing YouTube and I've just watched the most disturbing video I've seen in a long time. It was a video posted by RetroGamerVX concerning the Sinclair Spectrum and the Commodore 64 computers. Now, I don't quite know what he's on about, but he supposedly says that the Commodore 64 is a far superior machine to the Sinclair Spectrum. I know, I'm flabbergasted as well. I mean, I've never heard such rubbish sprouted before in all my life. So I looked at the video, I made sure that I watched it all the way through to the end, and he put out a challenge to prove to him that the Spectrum is superior to the Commodore 64. Now, I'm not really a Spectrum fanboy, as you can see. I mean, I have a few of their machines over here, taking pride of place on my top row, but still I'm not a fanboy. And yes, I have a Commodore 64 in my collection as well. But back in the day, I never owned a Commodore 64. I mean, there was a reason for that. There were very few Commodore 64 guys, you know, around at that stage. Far and few between. You know, that actually reminds me of a time back in my school days. You know, I was sitting around with all my mates. I mean, we all had Spectrums. And some idiot further down the line, he was chatting about his Commodore 64. And he mentioned something, Ghostbusters, Sid Chip music, something like that. I mean, it was like throwing a red flag in front of a bull. The Spectrum owners just turned on him. I mean, it was actually quite ugly. I mean, we beat the living crap, all 15, 20 of us, we beat the living crap out of that one Commodore 64 owner. I mean, we taught him a right decent lesson. You don't mention things like that. I mean, what is music, what has sound got to do with gameplay? I mean, come on. The Spectrum had it all. What a machine. Okay, so Retro Gamer was somehow insinuating that this beastie, the Commodore 64, I mean, just look at it. I mean, look at it. Look at the shape. I mean, it actually looks like somebody took a lump of clay and somehow came up with this shape. I mean, it's by far the ugliest computer, you know, I have in my collection, and hence it actually resides on one of the bottom shelves. You know, out of sight, out of mind. I mean, just look at it. I mean, it was lovingly called the bread box. I mean, geez, why would you call your computer a bread box? I mean, look at it. Where is the Spectrum? I mean, just look at it. Absolutely stunning design. I mean, look at it. Look at the size of it. Compact, well crafted. I mean, look at that. Aerodynamic. I mean, if you had to throw these two computers, I guarantee you that the Spectrum would go further. By far. What a stunning little machine. And that's why, if you have a look back here, the Spectrums take pride of place on my shelf. Starting off with the ZX80, the ZX81, the Spectrum, my favorite. Then moving on to the, sort of lost interest then when Amstrad got involved with the Spectrums. But otherwise, yeah, these, what a fantastic little machine. I mean, just look at it. Just, oh, what a machine. What a machine. Look at it. You know, when you switch this machine on and you put your ear to it, it has this little buzzing sound. And it's fantastic. I mean, often I'll wake up at night dreaming about it. It's actually quite erotic. Yeah, bzzz, wonderful little machines. And this, you know, the only thing I could really think of actually using this for would be for a doorstop. You know, possibly if my car was going to roll backwards down the driveway, I could, you know, shove this behind the tire. I mean, you could use it for something like that. But as a, I mean, and that color, look at the color of the thing. Who makes a machine and baby brown crap color? I mean, come on guys, I mean, look at it. Horrendous. I mean, what were they thinking? It's no wonder back in the day, I mean, us Spectrum owners, we used to beat the living crap out of the Commodore 64 owners. Okay, yes, we were in the majority. Ah, well, I mean, so what? 15, 20 of us against a Commodore 64 owner, but hell, we beat the crap out of him. I mean, he didn't stand a chance. So, you know, majority rules. And in this country, if you're the majority, you're in charge. You know, I mean, it's been proven time and time again. I mean, we've taught the British a lesson before. I mean, you go back to, I think the British suffered one of their biggest defeats against us, the Zulus, here in South Africa. You know, we wiped out an entire column using sharpened sticks and stones. What did the British have? State-of-the-art weaponry. What did we have? Yeah, well, okay, we had 100,000 soldiers, but I mean, we had sharpened sticks and stones. But still, we were the majority, and the majority rules. It's simple as that. The majority cannot be wrong. So, you know, using that sort of line of logic, I mean, which do you choose? I mean, just look at them, compare them, put the two of them together. I mean, sleek, modern, well designed, large, cumbersome, blocky piece of, I don't quite know what. So really, I don't know what Retro Gamer was on about. You know, I'm not a fanboy of Spectrum. You know, I'm definitely not a fanboy. I mean, it's just a stunning little machine. And you know, in order for me to put this debate to bed once and for all, I'm going to put these machines through their paces. I am going to test their capabilities. And you know, once and for all, we'll have a definitive test so that we can determine which is the best machine, once and for all. And then after that, no more arguments. Okay, now I've been watching on TV a little bit of the Commonwealth Games there in Glasgow. And yeah, I was thinking about it, and you know, I'm going to use similar sort of testing methodology, and I'm going to put these machines through the test. So guys, let's see who comes out the best. Okay, YouTubers, I've set up the first test, Spectrum versus Commodore, and this is a speed test. I mean, this is by far the best way of testing the speed of these machines. As you can see, I've set up the course with a soft landing at the bottom. And I believe that the Spectrum, with its better aerodynamics, is going to win the day. So on the count of 3, my wife, who I've been told I may not photograph in the back there, is going to let the machines go, and we're going to see once and for all which is the faster machine. So on the count of 3, 3, 2, 1, go! Ah, absolutely definitive. That Spectrum is by far the faster of the two machines. Okay, so what was clearly visible there in that test was the better design, the better aerodynamics, far superior to the Commodore, gave the Spectrum a bit of an edge in the speed test. And I must say, at the end there, it was actually just a one-horse race. I mean, absolutely. I mean, it just outperformed the Commodore completely, coming in almost by a full stride ahead of the Commodore. Well, on to the next test. So in order to test the multitasking ability of the two machines, I'm going to be setting the two of them adrift from this side of the pool with a steady little push. I mean, the wind is blowing from behind here, and we see which one gets further and which one can survive the best in this foreign environment. And once again, you know, my bets are on the Spectrum. Okay, so we have the two machines. Now let's see which is the superior machine when it comes to multitasking, the Spectrum or the Commodore. We're about to launch the two machines. And 3, 2, 1, go! And there you have it, guys. Have a look at that. The Commodore, it sank. It sank, and the Spectrum is leading. Look at that. Fantastic. Just as I thought. Well, after 5 minutes in the water, the Spectrum is still high and dry. The keys are not even wet. Fantastic performance. Well, this next test is a stress test. In other words, I want to test the durability and strength of these products. In order to do that, I've taken the part that I believe that gets hammered the most, and I'm going to put it through its paces. So I've taken out, as you can see, the keyboard for the Commodore and the keyboard for the Spectrum. And in order to test this accurately, I thought I'd grab the good old hammer and go to work on these and see which one actually survives the best. Okay, first up is the Spectrum. So, got the hammer. Let's give the keyboard a bit of a testing and see how it performs. And let's have a look. My word, absolutely ingenious. A rubber keyboard, absolutely no damage on it. Fantastic engineering, modern design. So Clive Sinclair, you're a genius. Well, let's see how the Commodore does. Okay, now it's the turn of the Commodore. Let's see how it takes to the stress test. Well, I must be honest, I wasn't too impressed by that performance by the Commodore. I mean, have a look at that. That's all I got left. Bits and pieces of plastic. I mean, what sort of engineering is that? Can't even take 20-30 hits with a hammer and it breaks up into pieces. Shocking. Here's another piece over there. Horrendous design. Oh. Well, I don't think further testing is needed, guys. One, we tested the speed of the Spectrum versus the Commodore 64, and as you saw, clearly it is the faster machine. Aerodynamics, design, etc. far better than the Commodore 64. The second test, just as important, we tested multitasking. We put the machines into foreign environments, and guess what? Once again, the old Speccy, look here, it's not even wet, and it's come out the water. The Commodore 64, oh, I've left it outside, it's still soaked. Oh, shocking performance. And then the third most important test of all, the stress and durability test, showing us what these machines are made of. Clearly the Spectrum, I gave it 5, 6, 7 wallops with a hammer on the keyboard. Nothing, stuck the keyboard, it's working, 100%, no problems. Modern design. The Commodore 64 on the first hit with the hammer, guess what? It shattered into 1,000 pieces. Shocking. You could never put it back together again with 100 years of glue and, you know, whatever. You'll never put it back together again. Again, poor design. So guys, I think I can wear my badge, my Spectrum badge, with honor, as clearly this is the superior machine. And Mr. Retro Gamer, please abstain from further comments around this fanboyism between the Spectrum and the Commodore 64, because clearly I've shown the Spectrum is the more superior machine. So clearly, guys, 3 points to the Spectrum, 0 to the Commodore 64. Clear indication of which machine is the better. So guys, I hope I've put this debate to an end, and we now have a definitive answer of which machine is the better, as has clearly been demonstrated with all 3 of my tests. And yeah, I'm looking forward to your responses. Cheers, guys.